Hello and welcome once again to the Hot Chocolates kitchen. Right, this is part 2 of the Palm Beach chocolates, which are the coconut scented chocolates which we coat in dark chocolate. So if you remember earlier, I just want to show you here, there's the tray and the cling film that we put the coconut mixture into. And I wanted to show you this so you can see how densely packed I've made the coconut mixture. And what I've done is I have rolled some of this out to show you how to dip the chocolates. So if we move over to this area here, here are my truffles, which I have rolled. Now, when you roll these balls, you might well find that some of them come apart in your hands. When you're rolling, you want to cut the mixture up and then pinch it and take sort of 1 inch to 2 inch square sized balls, roll them in the palm of your hand as lightly as possible to produce, as I say, these balls here. If they come apart, I can maybe show you there's one that's sort of slightly come apart. They can pretty much hold together if you just treat them gently. They should be all right. So moving over here, what I've done is I have melted some chocolate. Now we use 55% cocoa in our chocolate. So it's our own brand of chocolate, hotchocolates.biz, which you can buy from the website. And as you can see, I've melted these chocolate buttons. They're quite large, but they're very easy to melt in a double boiler. Now the double boiler has, as you can see, a wee drop of water in the bottom and then the separate pan on top. The key to melting chocolate is heat. The most dangerous thing regarding tempering, which is the sort of recognised word for properly melting chocolate, is the heat. And what I mean by that is when you pop your water in, as you can see, I only had about about 1 inch to 2 inches of water in the bottom of the pan, and I heated it up to a simmer, which is just a very, very light bubbling on the surface. Then I switched the heat off, I added my buttons into the top of the pan and I started to melt them. If you overheat your chocolate, it might well burn, or it can seize and do all sorts of funny things. And seizing means that it might go grainy and cloggy, and at that stage you really can't work with it. What we want to do now, we've melted about, I think I've melted about 200 grams in here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some of these buttons. Now, as well as heat being a key component to melting chocolate, the addition of this cold chocolate, the chocolate buttons, into the melted chocolate is very important, because what is going to happen now is the melted chocolate is going to start to cool, the buttons are going to start to melt, and together we hope they're going to come to exactly the right temperature in order to produce really glossy, beautiful chocolates once we start to coat the truffles. If you want to get technical, the highest temperature you want to melt chocolate at is 42 to 45 degrees Celsius. And then when you reduce it, the key temperature for coating chocolates in dark chocolate is 31.5 degrees. It's slightly different for milk and it's slightly different for white. They're both slightly lower. But as I say, the key components regarding this process is first of all the heat. As you can see, I don't have any gas on at all. And this is very, very important. One of the worst things you can do is keep the heat going and you'll just lose the temperature that you require. So key components are heat and then adding the extra chocolate. Now I'm just touching the sides of this pan because it's actually still quite hot. It will surprise you how cool the pan and the chocolate actually has to be, how cool 31 degrees is, 31.5. Cooler than body temperature. And if you overcool it, don't worry, because you can always remelt chocolate. Although there are some things that are irretrievable, for example, if it seizes, if it goes grainy, if it starts to separate, become oily, and the cocoa solids go to one part of the pan and the oil goes to the other, then that's pretty much irredeemable. But the one thing you can do is if it gets too cold, or even if it's not setting properly, if you get grey streaks or little sort of sugar crystals, you can always reuse that chocolate. There's absolutely nothing wrong with remelting it and starting again. You've just got to keep stirring and you've just got to be patient. Let's just see what that's doing. Again, it's still a wee bit warm. Let's add a few more buttons. And I can feel, and you'll feel this as well, as you're stirring, the chocolate becomes thicker. You can just feel it in your arm. Now, as I said in part one, we use dark chocolate, but you can use white or milk. If you're using white, you want to bring the temperature down officially to around 30.9. I know that seems to be splitting hairs, but these are the sort of official temperatures. And for white, it's about 30.5. You can buy chocolate thermometers from specialist suppliers. You can look online, or if you have a really good cake supplier shop, nearby, then you can use them. So there we go. Let's feel it again. Right, I would say it's still too hot. Move over again. So as I say, you've just got to be patient. One thing to say about the chocolate we use is it is Belgian. There is only the cocoa butter in it. It's a very pure chocolate. There is no added oil or fat to the chocolate.